Good morning, viewers. My name is Vijay Vrat Arya. Today, I will be referring the topic strategic management of MMPC 12 or of MBA. In today's lecture, I will be covering block 1, that is Introduction to Strategic Management, which is having 3 units. First, concept of strategy, which will be referring the meaning, nature, essence of a strategy, different levels of a strategy, importance of a strategy, and the relationship of strategy with the policies, programs, and rules of the organization. The Unit 2 strategic framework will refer the different processes of strategic management, different aspects of strategic intent, including vision, mission, and objectives, and the concepts of strategy formulation, its implementation and evolution. The Unit 3 will refer the global context of the strategy. So let's start with the first unit, that is concept of strategy. And before we start, let's have a kind of brainstorming on the strategy. So the day before yesterday, there was a news article in Business Today, which is business tycoon Mukesh Ambani launches his FMCG offensive against Tata, ITC, and Britannia. While analyzing this particular article, it has been observed that Reliance Consumer Product Limited launched the brand name Independence, which is wholly owned subsidiary of Reliance Retail Venture. Under this brand, Independence, different FMCG products have been launched, like sugar, besan, tur dal, maybe packaged drinking water, etc. One of the important aspects that has been noticed is that it is targeting only the Gujarat region as of now. And the brand stands for truly Indian solutions for real Indian problems. At the same time, it has been articulated as Kan Kan Me Bharat, which evoke a kind of emotional attachment and instilling a sense of inclusiveness among Indians. So this is some of the strategic aspect the Reliance Consumer Products Limited has emphasized, and which is creating a kind of competitiveness for the other brands, other corporates, that is Tata, ITC, and Britannia. At the same time, let's have another example of McDonald's, which is having around 36,000 fast food locations in more than 100 different countries. If we refer the kind of strategy or the plan that they are referring, in case of India, they have menu which says make a spicy paneer. At the same time, you will find poutine as one of the menu item in Canada, which is French fries with gravy. But in both the cases, you will notice that the golden arches and company name stays the same. And at the same time, you also notice that the economists used to refer McDonald's Big Mac Index while referring the valuation of the dollar. Similarly, we have the case of Samsung, that depending on the region, they consider a specific or they adopt a specific product for considering a specific local market. For example, in Korea, that is South Korea, they have Kimachi refrigerator. In case of Bulgaria, they have a smart oven designated explicitly for yogurt fragmentation. And in case of China, they embossing the character for lock on the back of PC monitor. So depending on the market requirement, depending on the regional requirement, they change their strategy. So based on these 3 aspects, one can easily now be familiar with the concept of a strategy. So let me just bring the concept before you. Strategy is a Greek word, that is stregos, where stratos means army and agos implies to lead. And if we further try to understand the concept of strategy, so a strategy is defined as a plan deployed at each level of management, that is corporate level, strategic business unit level, or maybe at functional level. The purpose is for the attainment of objective and realization of long-term goals of the organization. If we refer the specific purpose, then there are several purposes the strategies are referred. One can think for the purpose of satisfying customers. One can think for the purpose of surviving in the market. expanding the business base, maybe improving the market share from the existing to the higher one, maybe for the purpose of increasing or improving the profitability aspect of the organization. But overall, or over and above, it's for the purpose of attaining objectives of the organization. There are certain definitions given by some of the scholars. One is by Glueck. According to him, strategy is the unified, comprehensive, and integrated plan that relates the strategic advantage of the organization to the challenges of the environment and is designed to ensure that basic objectives of the enterprise are achieved through proper implementation process. Therefore, according to him, the strategy is a kind of integrated process, plan process, where different challenges which are posed by the environment, both internal, external, micro, macro, are considered. And based on that, a basic objective of the organization are achieved. At the same time, Michael Porter has also defined strategy by stating that strategy is the creation of a unique and valued position involving a different set of activities. The organization that is strategically positioned performs different activities from rivals or performs similar activities in different ways. So it is one of the important concept floated by Michael Porter that different either one can perform different activities, which is very challenging for the rivals, or they can perform activities or similar activities but in a different manner. If we refer some of the features of a strategy, then Mintzberg in 2005 refer five P's, that is pattern, plan, position, perspective, and ploy. Here, the pattern means the organization consistency in following a particular course of action, a kind of trend, a kind of repetitive aspects that the organization is referring to. The plan, which means preparing for future or looking ahead. The third aspect is position, which is again derived from the STP, segmentation, targeting, and positioning. So within that perspective, it means positioning for a niche market or looking at external environment and based on that, defining where exactly one need to target to. And accordingly, the product or the services can be uniquely differentiated or defined. The other is perspective, which means looking at the vision of the organization or looking at internal environment of the organization. Ploy means tactic used to gain advantage over its competitor. Therefore, it creates a kind of competitive environment or an advantage over the rivals. If we refer some of the important nature of the strategy, then few are here. That is, involves both organization and environment, and both are inseparable. Other is the strategy is dynamic and not static. One has to keep thinking, keep changing the strategy depending on the market changes or the kind of environment as an organization one is referring to. We cannot have the static strategy throughout the years, maybe multiple years. Apart from that, it's a futuristic in nature. We are developing it presently, but for the purpose of future. It's a combination of content and the process both. It is formulated at different levels, that is corporate level, strategic business unit level, and functional level. Integration of concept with analysis for decision making. Now we can have the second unit, which will further talk about the strategic framework, in which we will be studying the strategic management first. So, in continuation to the strategy, let us talk about the strategic management. Strategic management is the management of an organization's resources to achieve its goals and objectives. At the same time, strategic management involves setting objectives, analyzing the competitive environment, analyzing the internal organization, evaluating strategies, and ensuring that management rolls out the strategies across the organization. Now, there are some overlapping, some sort of words which are seems to be similar to strategy, but they are different in meaning and the concept. So let us have a difference between strategy and the policy. So strategy is a plan of action. On the other hand, policy is a set of rules and procedures, that is principles of action. Therefore, we can say policy is a part of a strategy. At the same time, we can also have a difference between strategy and tactics. Strategy determines the major plans to be undertaken. On the other hand, tactics is the means by which previously determined plans are executed. We can now refer to levels of strategy. There are prominently three levels of strategy. One is the corporate level, where we see that the top management, that is board of directors, maybe the chief executives, decide or define the strategy. Maybe some examples are towards the acquisition decisions, diversification strategy, or maybe structural redesigning. The second level of the strategy is strategic business unit level or business unit level strategies, which are comprehensive plans providing objectives for strategic business units, allocating of resources among functional areas. Let's take an example of Patanjali Ayurveda, which is having different products lines, maybe cosmetic products, maybe Ayurvedic medicines, maybe personal care, or the food products. So, considering all these product lines, if the decisions are taken exclusively for respective business unit, then it is considered as business unit level strategies. And the third level is functional or the operational level strategies, which is related to a single functional operations and the activities involved therein. Considering again Patanjali Ayurveda, the operational areas would be the marketing, finance, manufacturing, etc. Now we can refer to some of the importance of strategy, which are very relevant considering the organization or for the purpose of helping an organization. So strategy help in taking decisions on long range forecast basis. It also deal with a new trend and meet competition in an effective manner, to be flexible and meet the uncertain situation. Strategy or a kind of efficient strategy formulation and implementation results into financial benefit, that is in terms of higher profits. It also helps in clarity of direction for achieving the objectives. Managers become proactive and more conscious of their environment due to effective implementation of the strategy. The last, it improves corporate communication, coordination, and allocation of resources. Because from top to bottom, the organization is having a defined procedures, policies, and the means through which the resources allocated will be utilized. Now we can refer to the important strategic management processes. There are 6 strategic management processes. The first is creating a strategic intent. Second is conducting an environment analysis. Third is formulating strategies. Fourth, selecting best alternate strategy. Fifth, implementing strategy. Sixth, and the last, strategy evaluation and control. Now, there are different activities involved in the strategic management process. That is envisioning a desirable future position for the organization, stating the base values of the organization, analysis of external as well as internal environment, linking the organizational strengths with environmental opportunities, taking decisions regarding resource allocation, formulating alternative strategies, and selecting the most feasible strategy, implementing the selected strategy, evaluating the implemented strategy, and exercising review and control. Last, taking corrective measures whenever required. Now we can have each process, each stage of strategic management process. So first we'll be referring strategic intent. Strategic intent of an organization consists of defining vision, mission, objectives, and goals. It is the basic strategic input of the strategic management process. It explains the purpose for which an organization exists and what an organization as a whole wants to achieve. There are set of hierarchy in the strategic intent, that is vision at the top, core values and purpose which is derived from vision, then mission, then objectives and goals, and last the strategy. So we will be referring each one of them. So first we will be referring the vision. Vision of an organization is the expectation that the organization wants to fulfill. It encompasses a state or position which an organization wants to achieve in future. It showcases a futuristic picture of an organization. It aim of the vision statement is to provide an answer to the question, which is very important, what an organization wants to become. So it's a futuristic view of the organization that an organization get the answer. The other is the vision statement of an organization should be achievable and measurable too. If we refer the second aspect in the hierarchy of strategic intent, it is core values and purposes. So core values are the essential and enduring beliefs of an organization. They may be beliefs of top management regarding employees' welfare, customers' interest, and shareholders' wealth. The belief may have economic orientation or social orientation. At the same time, the core purposes is the reason for existence of the organization. It is the linkage of organization with its own people. If we refer the mission from the perspective of strategic intent, then it is essential purpose of the organization concerning particularly why it is in existence, the nature of the business it is in, and the customers it seeks to serve and satisfy. Mission also highlights the market target by the organization, technologies adopted, and product and services to be offered. A mission segregates the organization from the other organizations in an industry. The aim of the mission statement is to answer the question, which is again very important. What an organization does. If we refer some of the components of mission statement, then there are around 9 such components identified from the perspective of mission statement, which may include markets, technology, survival, growth, profit, philosophy, self-concept, public image, employees, products and services, and the customers. We can have now the objectives and the goals from the perspective of the strategic intent. So objectives and goals are a measurable form of targets which an organization wants to achieve. At the same time, goals are the achievable outcomes which are made for long term and specify what is to be achieved in broad sense. If we refer objectives, then they are short-term in nature, short-term actions, which includes specified tasks required to fulfill long-term goals. Objectives and goals should be drawn in line with the mission statement. So we can see that the mission is something prime over the objectives and goals. Now, there are certain objectives which are, according to Peter Drucker, which should be set. There are certain areas which have been identified. So which says that what are the different objectives which should be set. So there are certain areas like market standing, innovation productivity, physical and financial resources, profitability, manager performance and development, worker performance and attitude, and public responsibility. If we refer the second stage of the strategic management process, then it is strategic analysis. Sometimes we also call it internal and external environment analysis. The major components of strategic analysis are conducting the environmental analysis, assessing the existing strategies to check whether they fulfill the goals or not, to evaluate various strategic alternatives, also adopting the most viable strategy. In continuation to the stage 2, there are certain type of analysis which are covered under the strategic analysis. One is the environmental analysis, which involves assessing all the forces and factors which surrounds the organization, which can be internal, external environment analysis. If we further refer the internal environment, it means internal environment of an organization which comprises of the factors which only affects that particular organization. It is within the organization. There are certain external environment factors which we consider as non-controllable factors too. So they comprises of all the factors which affect the whole industry and all the organizations of that industry, like the government policies, maybe the regulatory provisions, maybe some other factors too. The other type of strategic analysis is SWOT analysis, that is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So evaluating these aspects from the organization perspective, the internal environment is considered as prime. At the same time, another analysis is referred as PESTLE analysis, which considered some of the factors like political, economical, socio-cultural, technological, legal, and ecological environment. And it's a technique used for analyzing the external environment. We will be talking about PESTLE later on. Then in stage 3 of strategic management process, the concept of strategy formulation is there. It involves developing strategies at various levels of business and organization, that is corporate level, business level, and functional level. The different levels of the strategy involves different strategic alternatives for different objectives of the organization. Here, the manager formulates strategies in response to external as well as the internal environment. If we further refer the strategy formulation levels, then again there are three, although we have referred them earlier. So we can skip this part and we can refer the stage 4, that is strategic choice within the strategic management process. So once the strategic choice is like a decision making process. So based on the analysis, that is strategic analysis, now the situation is, or the stage is towards selecting or having a choice over the different analysis. In this case, a decision making process which looks into the following steps. One is focusing on strategic alternative. Second is evaluating strategic alternatives. And then considering decision factors like objective factors and subjective factor. Finally, making the strategic choice. There are almost three objective ways to make a choice. One is corporate portfolio analysis, competitor analysis, and industry analysis. If we refer the corporate portfolio analysis, then it's applicable to those businesses primarily which have more than one business units. I'm talking about the strategic business unit. So this analysis can be done by using any of these 7 technologies referred here. That is experience curve by product life cycle concept, by Boston Consulting Group growth share metrics, that is BCG metrics. Another GE McKinsey 9-cell metrics, space diagram, Hoffer's product market evolution metrics, or directional policy metrics. Apart from that, the other strategic choice can be referred from the competitor analysis point of view, where majorly one or few competitors are referred from the perspective that what they have and what they do not have. Apart from that, the industry analysis is also referred as important, but in that particular case, all the competitors are taken together within the industry, and it is considered. If we refer the stage 5 of strategic management process, then it is strategic implementation. In that case, whatever choices or whatever strategic alternatives you are having, based on that, now it's a matter of implementation. So strategic implementation is the process of converting strategies into practices. That is execution and activation. There are almost 7 stages which are involved in terms of strategic implementation. First is setting goals, develop plans, structuring the organization, allocating resources, communicating the plan and goals, motivating the employees, establishing leadership. Although this strategic implementation consists of 3 major elements, which again need to be emphasized here. First is operationalizing of strategies, which means setting up of targets and plans, objectives, allocation of resources, and communication of strategies. The second element is institutionalization of strategies, which means establishing the organizational structure and leadership in such a manner that the strategic objective can be achieved. The third element is evaluation and control. The last stage of strategic management process is strategic evaluation and control, which is the final stage which ensures that the implemented strategies meet their objectives. If not, then perform corrective actions. It's an ongoing process with a feedback mechanism which provides for continuous monitoring of the process of strategies implemented. And it also involves establishing standards, measurement of actual performance, and drawing comparison between the actual performance and the standard performance for the purpose of finding the deviation. In this particular case, the strategic control includes the following types of control. First, premise control, implementation control, special alert control, strategic surveillance. Apart from that, operational control includes the following categories. One, budgeting, which may include different techniques like zero-based budgeting, program budgeting, performance budgeting, and scheduling, management control system, feedback control system, division performance measurement. Now we can refer to unit 3, that is strategy in global context. So as we have seen some of the examples in the initial phase of today's lecture, then we have seen the case of McDonald's, we have seen the case of Samsung. So we need to understand in this particular unit how the internationalization, how the global business environment encourages a specific organization to operate or to start its business in an expanded manner in the other countries. So we need to understand first the need for internationalization. So there are some basic things which are observed here. That is, foreign markets provide additional sales opportunities for an organization that may be constrained by the relatively small size of its domestic market. Therefore, we will notice if the domestic market is already matured enough, so in that particular case, the marketer or the organization would explore the external or the international markets. The other case is it reduces the organization's dependence on a single national market. Apart from that, it provides opportunity to earn a return on large investments such as plant and capital equipments or research and development, or enhance market share and achieve scale economies, advantages of locations, extending the product life cycle, securing key resources, and using low cost labor. Now, we also need to refer the global business environment perspective. So here, the global business involves operations of business activities in more than one nation. The organizations operating in two or more nations are referred as multinational or transnational organizations. If we refer the global business environment, then it covers all the forces which not only relies in the local market and national territory of the organization, but also includes all the factors which are encountered within the foreign land. It includes interaction between the forces of local, national, and international market or international environment. Apart from that, an organization can gain competitive advantage in international markets on the basis of its unique resources and capabilities. If we refer some of the environment analysis related processes, then there are four major such steps. So we need to have a look at these steps too. First is factor identification. In the case of factor identification, it identifies the factors prevailing in the environment. The environmental factors differ from nation to nation. The second step is factor selection. So in this particular case, the selecting the relevant factors and analyzing the related variables to forecast the effect of such factors on the business. The third step is variable analysis, which includes profiling the factors according to the position and negative aspects it can create for the business. The fourth step could be strategic positioning, which determines a strategic position based on analyzing the environmental threats and opportunities and organizational strengths and weaknesses. One of the important analysis from the perspective of the organization is PESTLE analysis. So in this diagram, you can easily see that P stand for political, E stand for economic, S stand for social and cultural, T stand for technological, L stand for legal, and E stand for the environmental or ecological analysis. So from this perspective, almost six major environment factors are considered, analyzed. In the case of political, there are few aspects. For example, the tax policy of the government. If it is highly rigid, it is very high. So in that case, the internationalization or global presence might be a bit difficult. At the same time, labor law. So if it is highly protective in nature, so in that case, the the corporates or the organization might find it very difficult to enter into such kind of countries, because if the labor laws are a bit liberal, so in that case they may find it easy in terms of referring the labor forces in respective country. Apart from that, environmental laws, trade restrictions, and tariff provisions are again refer the concepts from the point of view of the political environment. Then we have the economic environment or economic factors. So from this particular aspect, there are few aspects which are considered in the economic factors or economic environment, which is economic growth of the country to which they are trying to refer, the international business or international presence. The other is interest rate, other is the exchange rate of that country or that economy, and the inflation position of that country in the international market. The third aspect is socio-cultural aspect or socio-cultural factors. In this particular case, the cultural aspects are considered while referring this particular analysis. Apart from that, Population growth rate is also considered here. The age distribution, the career attitude, and the safety emphasis also considered from this particular aspect. From the perspective of the technological factors or technological environment, few aspects are there. How conveniently the possibility of automation is there from the perspective of the availability of technology. Maybe what kind of incentives are there in a specific country from the technological perspective. What is the change rate of technology? Is it very quickly changing? The technology is changing very quickly, or maybe the existing technology are going to be obsolete in near future. So that aspect is again considered, and the kind of R&D facilities or activities in respective countries also considered very prominently. Now, from the perspective of the legal environment, certain laws or legal perspectives are considered in the PESTLE analysis, like discrimination laws, consumer laws in respective country, antitrust laws in a specific country, employment provisions and laws in a specific country, health and safety laws in a specific country. Last is ecological or environmental analysis, which talk about the climate conditions, how quickly the climate is changing, and the weather related conditions are considered while referring to the PESTLE analysis. Now, we can refer to some of the global strategic alternatives which are considered while referring to the global business environment. So, based on global environment analysis, three major strategy options for going international are considered. First is the global. So, in that case, very commonly, two good examples are there: Microsoft and Procter and Gamble. So in this particular case of global alternatives, we notice that a global perspective offers standardized products and uses integrated operations. So another example is of iPhone, which we notice that for all world markets, one that can be produced and sold in any country. At the same time, if we refer a multi-domestic nature of organization, then we observe HSBC over here, where the decentralizes operational decisions and activities to each nation, in which it is operating and customizes its products and services to each market. So as an example, we have considered HSBC. So it's a foreign bank. So here in India, maybe in other countries, if the respective bank is operating, so it refers to the domestic regulation of respective country. And accordingly, it can be decentralized. Whatever decisions the respective country management need to have, it can have the team over there. Similarly, another example is McDonald's. It adjusts to the cultures and consumers of their host countries. In the European countries, you will find that the menu might include uh, the food items which can be made up of beef or pork. But at the same time, if those products are to be marketed here in India or maybe in other Gulf countries, then you will notice that those menus which are applicable in European countries might not be offered in our country or maybe Gulf countries, depending on the cultural barriers or the kind of religion followed in respective country. At the same time, we can also refer the transnational. A good example is KFC restaurant, which include best of both the multi-domestic and global strategies that have been referred earlier. So it's a combination of both. And in this particular case, the integrating operations are globally referred, while tailoring products and services to the local market. In this particular case, the concept is thinks globally but acts locally. Another good example is Coca-Cola in this case, which sold in more than 200 countries, but at the same time, it retains exactly the same beverage formulation in each country, although the label may reflect the local language, but the logo and contents remain the same. Now, we can refer some of the modes of entering into global market. There are many such modes like exporting, licensing, franchising, strategic alliance, acquisition, or say joint venture. Exporting is basically marketing of domestically produced goods in a foreign market. The other concept of entering into global market as an important mode is licensing that give permit to an organization in the target nation to use the property of the licensor, such as the trademarks, patents, and production techniques. So, in this particular case of licensing, the licensee pays a fee in exchange for the rights being utilized by him to use the intangible property and possible for technical assistance. The other mode of entering into the global market is joint venture. In that particular case, uh, two or more than two organizations jointly engaging with another firm in foreign country with an objective to global market entry, maybe a risk or say reward sharing perspective, technology sharing, joint or product development, and conforming to government regulation. The other mode of entering global market is direct investment. In that case, it's the ownership of facilities in the target market. It involves the transfer of resources, including capital, technology, and personal. It may be made through the acquisition of an existing entity or the establishment of a new enterprise. Now, we are at the end of the session where we are also need to refer EPRG framework, which is very prominent from the perspective of the global business environment, where the strategy formation are considered very significantly. Here, four strategic orientations, which very commonly the global organizations follow or adopt for managing its international business. So here EPRG stand for ethnocentric, polycentric, regiocentric, and geocentric. So we will be talking about each of these orientations or approaches in detail. So let me just first discuss the ethnocentric, which is also known as home country orientation. In this particular case, a company markets its products or services internationally in the same manner as they do domestically. It means the home country business or the product developed and the host country product that they are going to supply or offer are almost same. There is no change. The orientation is very common. Other aspect is in the case of ethnocentric is that companies believe that consumers' needs and markets conditions are more or less homogeneous in nature globally. Apart from that, they avoid the expense of developing new marketing techniques to serve foreign consumers. So, more and large, they believe in referring to common business strategies, maybe the marketing strategies or the techniques, which they refer here in a home market. They also refer almost same marketing techniques in the respective host country consumer market too. Apart from that, all functions are planned and carried out from home base only with little or almost a negligible or no difference in product formulation or specifications. The other orientation in EPRG framework is polycentric, which is also referred foreign country orientation too. In this particular case, companies go for customization for each foreign market, depending upon the consumers' taste or preferences or cultural or any legal or political factors, that is, depending upon their local marketing conditions, and then enter into that market. In the case of polycentric orientation, the marketers or the organization customize the marketing mix to meet the specific needs of each foreign market. So in that particular case, one will notice that the product, price, place, and promotions are emphasized according to the land of the law, that is, the host countries. What norms, what policies, what consumer preferences are there are considered, and accordingly, they decide about the product, its launching, and other variabilities. The third type of EPRG framework is regiocentric, or we also call it the similar market conditions or orientations. In this particular case, the target a group of countries which is having almost similar market characteristics and then enter into the market. So in that particular case, if a organization is referring or is from a market A, so in that case, similarities of market A is explored in global market. And if very common commonalities or variables are available in other markets, say market X, Y, or Z, so in that case, only market X, Y, Z are targeted. So once the company is established in various markets, the attempts are made to form market clusters based on geographical and psychic proximity. Apart from that, the production and distribution of products are made to serve the whole region with an effective economy of operation, close control, and coordination. At the end of this session, the last EPRG framework is geocentric or one world orientation. It means company identifies the needs of consumers worldwide and then enters into the market with standard products with standardized marketing mix for all the markets it serves. It also refers the companies coordinate their contribution, in fact, distribution network, to distribute their products in various regional and national markets by establishing manufacturing and processing facilities around the world. So, in the case of geocentric or one world orientation, we will observe that Apple, Google are the kind of companies that they used to refer this kind of orientation in global market. So, this is all from my side, and we will meet very soon in the upcoming session of strategic management, that is MMPC 12. Thank you.